In the annals of the Roman Empire, rich with tales of commanders and rulers whose deeds forever altered the course of history, few figures are as significant and enigmatic as Constantius Chlorus. This remarkable individual, whose journey began in humble circumstances in Illyricum around 250 CE, was destined for an extraordinary path. From an unassuming start to his rise as a formidable military leader and, ultimately, emperor, Constantius played a truly pivotal role in ensuring the stability and security of the western provinces. His decisions and accomplishments not only fortified the empire's precarious borders but also laid an unwavering foundation for the future of his renowned son, Constantine the Great, whose ascent to power would usher in a new era. But how did a man of such modest origins manage to reach such heights and leave such an indelible mark on history? Known to posterity as Constantius I, or more commonly as Constantius Chlorus, this future ruler was born on March 31, around 250 CE. His birthplace was the province of Dardania, though the exact city or settlement remains a subject of historical debate, with many scholars leaning towards Nisus. At birth, he was given the full name Flavius Valerius Constantius. His family, contrary to common perceptions of the Roman elite, belonged to the so-called lower nobility, most often described as the equestrian order, which distinguished them from the powerful senatorial aristocracy. Despite these relatively humble beginnings, which might have hindered many, Constantius demonstrated exceptional qualities from his earliest years: unyielding determination, insatiable ambition, and unquestionable competence. These character traits, like harbingers of his future glory, defined his entire subsequent path. The historian Eutropius, one of the few who left us accounts of Constantius's early years, noted, "Constantius, a man of outstanding virtues, was born in the province of Dardania of a noble family." His upbringing in the harsh and often turbulent region of Illyricum, where life demanded constant vigilance and fortitude, undoubtedly forged his resilience and exceptional military prowess, which later became the hallmark of his numerous achievements on the battlefield and in state governance. The epithet, Chlorus, which became an integral part of his name, literally translates to pale. This nickname, researchers believe, was likely given to Constantius due to his complexion or perhaps another equally distinctive physical feature. Roman tradition of bestowing nicknames often focused on physical characteristics or noticeable traits of an individual, and in the case of Constantius Chlorus, this epithet unequivocally indicated the noticeable paleness of his skin. Furthermore, this epithet served as an important tool to distinguish him from other historical figures named Constantius in the extensive chronicle of the Roman Empire. In his work, On the Caesars, Aurelius Victor, a prominent historian of that time, described Constantius as a man with a fair complexion, which fully aligns with the etymology and meaning of this epithet. Constantius united his fate with Helena, a woman from a humble social background, who was later canonized and entered history as Saint Helena, the mother of Constantine the Great. From this union, they had only one son, Constantine, born in Nisus in 272 CE. However, the dynamics of political alliances, characteristic of the tetrarchy system, compelled Constantius to divorce Helena and, in 288 CE, marry Theodora, who was Maximian's stepdaughter. This second marriage proved quite fruitful, giving Constantius 6 children, which significantly strengthened his political ties and position within the complex hierarchy of the empire. Among the claims about Constantius's ancestry, a curious rumor stands out regarding his kinship with Emperor Claudius II Gothicus, who reigned from 268 to 270 CE. This assertion, actively propagated primarily during the reign of his son, Constantine the Great, had a clear purpose: to strengthen the legitimacy and elevate the prestige of the Constantinian dynasty by establishing a connection with a revered and authoritative former emperor. According to this tradition, Claudius II was either Constantius's uncle or grandfather. Nevertheless, modern historical evidence supporting this claim is extremely scarce, and it is widely regarded as an element of later Constantinian propaganda aimed at exalting the lineage. The historian Aurelius Victor, whose works date to the mid-4th century, indeed mentions this alleged connection, noting, "The divine Constantius, it is said, was from the family of Claudius Gothicus." However, most modern historians tend to consider this a retrospective invention designed to elevate the status of Constantine and his descendants in the eyes of contemporaries and future generations. Regardless of whether a real kinship existed between Constantius and Claudius II, a connection with such a prominent historical figure would undoubtedly have been immensely advantageous for asserting his family's authority and respectability in Roman society. The beginning of Constantius Chlorus's professional path was inextricably linked to his dedicated military service, where he rapidly gained recognition for his outstanding competence and unwavering loyalty. Serving under the distinguished Emperor Aurelian, he earned widespread respect for his unparalleled valor and exceptional strategic acumen, particularly during Aurelian's extensive campaigns aimed at reunifying the vast, yet fractured, Roman Empire. This historical period, marked by numerous internal rebellions and constant external threats, provided skilled warriors like Constantius with unprecedented opportunities to fully unleash and demonstrate their extraordinary abilities. Among the most significant military operations was the campaign against the powerful Palmyrene Empire, led by the ambitious Queen Zenobia, who had managed to establish control over significant territories in the eastern Roman provinces. Under Aurelian's direct command, Constantius played a key role in a series of military actions that ultimately led to the triumphant recapture of Palmyra and the complete restoration of Roman rule in the east. His decisive and effective actions in these fateful campaigns significantly solidified his reputation as an exceptionally capable and absolutely reliable military commander. Constantius's extraordinary abilities did not go unnoticed in the highest echelons of power, and he steadily advanced through the ranks, eventually attracting the keen attention of Emperor Diocletian himself. Diocletian, recognizing the vital need for competent and absolutely reliable leaders to effectively govern the colossal Roman Empire, initiated a grand administrative reform in 286 CE, known to history as the Tetrarchy. This innovative system provided for the division of the empire into 4 vast regions, each to be governed by a separate, specially appointed ruler. And so, on March 1, 293 CE, Constantius was officially appointed Caesar, entrusted with the responsible governance of the western provinces under the supreme authority of Augustus Maximian. This significant appointment was an undeniable testament to his exceptional military prowess and profound political insight. The Latin Panegyrics, a valuable collection of Latin panegyric speeches, offer contemporaries a vivid depiction of the universal jubilation at his appointment, declaring, "The whole world, O Constantius, was filled with joy when it learned that you had been chosen Caesar by the judgment of Maximian Augustus." As Caesar, Constantius Chlorus was tasked with governing the vast western provinces of the Roman Empire, encompassing Gaul, Britain, and Spain. His tenure in this role was marked by a series of important military campaigns and persistent efforts to stabilize the situation in these strategically vital regions. One of the most notable campaigns, against the Franks, unfolded shortly after Constantius's official appointment as Caesar. He initiated a series of decisive military operations aimed at repelling the Franks, who had previously crossed the Rhine and caused significant unrest and disorder in Gallic lands. The historian Eutropius, describing these efforts, provides a brief but expressive account. Constantius, a man of outstanding virtues, repeatedly engaged in battle with the Franks and restored peace to the troubled provinces of Gaul. Constantius's approach to regional governance and conflict resolution was multifaceted and comprehensive. He did not limit himself to direct military confrontation with the Franks but also paid close attention to fostering loyalty among both the local population and the Roman legions, which was critically important for long-term stability. His military campaigns included not only offensive actions but also extensive work on restoring and strengthening fortifications along the Rhine, ensuring more reliable and effective protection against potential future invasions. The Latin panegyrics extol his strategic genius and military talent, asserting, "Constantius with great valor and strategic insight repelled the barbarian hordes, strengthening the empire's borders and bringing peace to the provinces." In addition to active military operations, Constantius also actively resorted to diplomatic measures to resolve the Frankish threat. He entered into negotiations with some influential Frankish leaders, seeking to conclude agreements that would reduce the frequency and severity of their destructive raids. These diplomatic initiatives harmoniously complemented his military operations, thus forming a more comprehensive and effective strategy for maintaining peace and stability in the region. It is important to note that the Franks were not officially incorporated as a fully subordinate vassal state in the traditional sense of political submission. Instead, the relationship between Rome and the Franks evolved differently. Some Frankish chiefs, to a certain extent, acknowledged Roman suzerainty and agreed to serve as foederati. The term foederati refers to barbarian tribes or groups that concluded special treaties with Rome, agreeing to provide military assistance and support in exchange for certain benefits, such as land grants or subsidies, while retaining some degree of internal autonomy. One of his most outstanding military achievements was undoubtedly his campaign in Britain. In 286 CE, an ambitious naval commander known as Carausius dared to proclaim himself emperor, establishing control over Britain and vast territories of northern Gaul. After Carausius was assassinated in 293 CE, the reins of power passed to his finance minister, Electus. Seeking to restore the integrity of the Roman Empire, Constantius was entrusted with the crucial task of reclaiming these lost provinces. In 296 CE, Constantius launched a meticulously planned and well-coordinated attack aimed at overthrowing the usurper Electus. He led a two-pronged invasion, with one fleet departing from the mouth of the Seine and the other from the Rhine, demonstrating brilliant tactics. The entire operation was characterized not only by strategic insight but also by astonishing speed, catching Electus completely off guard. The decisive confrontation occurred near Caliva Atrebatum, now known as Silchester, where Electus met his demise, and his forces were utterly routed. As the Roman historian Eutropius testifies, Constantius fought against the usurper Electus in Britain, whom he defeated and killed, restoring the province to the empire. Upon his return to the continent, to Gaul, Constantius's attention immediately turned to the pressing task of restoring order and stability in a region that had been deeply devastated by incessant invasions of Germanic tribes and internal unrest. He undertook a series of energetic military campaigns aimed at securing the inviolability of the Rhine frontier and restoring the severely damaged infrastructure. Among these undertakings, a significant campaign against the Alemanni stands out, a powerful confederation of Germanic tribes that posed a constant and serious threat to Roman territories located along the Rhine. Constantius successfully repelled the Alemanni, significantly strengthening existing fortifications along the Rhine, thereby ensuring a much more reliable and secure border. His approach to governance combined resolute military might with far-sighted diplomatic acumen, which contributed to fostering loyalty among both the local population and the Roman legions. His efforts were reflected in the Latin panegyrics, which enthusiastically proclaimed, "Thanks to the strength and wisdom of Constantius, Gaul, once engulfed in calamities, was returned to its former glory." Constantius Chlorus proved himself not only as a skilled general but also as a far-sighted and effective administrator. His activities as the ruler of the western provinces were entirely dedicated to increasing productivity and strengthening stability in this vast region. He focused his efforts on rebuilding cities damaged during numerous conflicts, renewing vital infrastructure, and revitalizing economic life. The political decisions he made were aimed at increasing agricultural production and stimulating trade connections, which laid a stronger economic foundation for the entire empire. Among his significant reforms, the introduction of the Edict on Maximum Prices in 301 CE should be highlighted. This legislative act, part of Diocletian's broader economic strategy, aimed to curb inflationary pressures and stabilize the economic system by fixing maximum prices on a wide range of goods and services. Although the edict's effectiveness proved limited and it faced considerable resistance, this measure clearly demonstrated Constantius's deep commitment to addressing the pressing economic problems of his time. The historian Lactantius, while critical of the Tetrarchy's overall economic policies, nevertheless acknowledged the noble intentions behind such initiatives. Constantius, like Diocletian, sought to alleviate the suffering of the people through regulation, though the measures were often severe. In 305 CE, the annals of the Roman Empire recorded a truly unprecedented event, the voluntary abdication of power by two reigning emperors, Diocletian and Maximian. This was an act unparalleled in centuries of Roman history. Suffering from illness, Diocletian decided to retire to his magnificent palace in Split, while Maximian also withdrew from state affairs, preferring the solitude of private life. This abdication was not a spontaneous decision, it was an integral part of Diocletian's grand plan aimed at stabilizing the empire and resolving the perennial problem of turbulent succession through the creation of the Tetrarchy system. The main goal of this design was to ensure the smoothest possible transfer of power and effectively prevent the civil wars that so frequently plagued the state. Their departure from the throne immediately led to the elevation of their Caesars, Constantius and Galerius, to the esteemed rank of Augusti, marking the advancement of a new generation of imperial leaders. As part of this restructuring, 2 new Caesars were promptly appointed, Flavius Valerius Severus and Maximinus Daia. Severus was assigned the role of Caesar under Constantius, while Maximinus Daia was designated as Caesar under Galerius, receiving control over the vast eastern provinces. However, as it later became clear, these appointments were seemingly dictated by Galerius, which inevitably undermined Constantius's authority. This imbalance immediately sowed the seeds of discontent and disunity within the structure of the new tetrarchy, foreshadowing future discord. The irony was that this meticulously planned restructuring, intended to ensure unshakable stability and smooth succession within the empire, ultimately devolved into a series of bitter conflicts and power struggles. This was particularly evident when significant figures such as Constantine and Maximian's son, Maxentius, found themselves excluded from the new tetrarchy scheme. Thus, this ambitious transition, despite its good intentions, merely demonstrated the internal contradictions and challenges inherent in the tetrarchy system's attempt to maintain long-term peace and order. As Augustus, Constantius was burdened with the monumental mission of maintaining internal stability in the western provinces while simultaneously ensuring the inviolability of the empire's borders from constant external challenges. One of Constantius's foremost and most pressing concerns remained the defense of Roman territories against the pressure from Germanic tribes inhabiting areas along the Rhine frontier. His military campaigns were dual in nature. They were both resolutely defensive, repelling invasions, and boldly offensive, aimed at establishing a stronger and more reliable border line. It was here that his strategic thinking and military decisions demonstrated exceptional effectiveness and unwavering determination, playing a key role in preserving the western provinces throughout his reign. The Latin panegyrics, a valuable contemporary source of Roman oratory, provide a vivid insight into his outstanding leadership, asserting, "Constantius, by the grace of the gods and his own valor, repelled the barbarians, restored the security of the provinces, and made the Rhine a boundary that could not be crossed." In addition to his military triumphs, Constantius tirelessly worked to restore and strengthen vital cities and critical infrastructure that had been severely damaged by preceding conflicts. His administrative efforts were entirely focused on reviving economic stability and ensuring the smooth functioning of local governance, which was essential for order and prosperity. He purposefully invested significant resources in the large-scale reconstruction of roads, bridges, and fortifications, which not only greatly improved connectivity between regions but also strengthened defensive capabilities across the vast Western Empire. The historian Eutropius highlights the relative peace and prosperity that prevailed during Constantius's reign, noting, "During Constantius's reign, the provinces of Gaul enjoyed such tranquility and order that even the most remote and neglected parts of the empire felt the benefit of his administration." Despite his unwavering efforts to maintain internal stability, Constantius inevitably faced internal political challenges. The tetrarchy system, while demonstrating its effectiveness in distributing the administrative burden of the immense Roman Empire, simultaneously created potential sources of disagreement and competitive rivalry among the 4 co-rulers. In these difficult political circumstances, Constantius skillfully navigated, employing both artful diplomatic techniques and decisive control measures, which allowed him to assert his position and unquestionable authority in the western provinces. Constantius's period of rule as Augustus was also marked by important characteristics, notably his relatively moderate stance towards Christians. Although the Great Persecution reached its peak, Constantius did not fully implement the harsh decrees established by Diocletian. Instead, his priority remained ensuring public peace and stability, and he avoided widespread and merciless repression. This foresight policy undoubtedly had a significant impact on his son Constantine's subsequent approach to matters of Christian faith. The renowned Christian chronicler Lactantius spoke highly of Constantius, praising his humanity. Among all the emperors, only Constantius was gentle and merciful, preserving his humanity even in times of adversity and danger. Initially, the Picts were a powerful confederation of tribes inhabiting the lands of modern Scotland, widely known for their distinct culture, unique art, and warrior society. Their domain stretched north of two great sea inlets, the Firth of Forth and the Firth of Clyde, a region the ancient Romans called Caledonia. The term Picts, meaning painted ones, was likely bestowed upon them by the Romans, possibly due to their characteristic practice of body painting or tattooing. By the end of the 3rd century CE, these tribes demonstrated increasing boldness, intensifying their incursions into territories controlled by the Roman Empire. Meanwhile, the Roman Empire was experiencing a period of deep decline, known as the crisis of the 3rd century, characterized by unprecedented internal instability, severe economic difficulties, and constant external invasions across its vast expanse. These upheavals significantly weakened Roman dominance in Britain. It was during this unstable period that Pictish raids noticeably increased, and pressure on the empire's northern frontiers grew significantly. In 296 CE, a Roman usurper named Electus managed to seize control of the province of Britannia, assassinating Carausius, who had previously proclaimed himself Emperor of Britain and Northern Gaul. However, Electus's rule proved extremely short-lived, ending in the same year, 296 CE, when Constantius launched his successful military campaign to return Britain to Roman control. Although this large-scale operation was primarily directed against Electus, the broader strategic context undoubtedly included the incessant threats posed by the Picts and other northern tribes. As the 4th century CE dawned, the threat emanating from the Pictish tribes continued to pose a significant challenge to the Roman administration exercising its authority in Britain. The renowned historian Eutropius, whose works date to the late 3rd century, particularly highlighted the unrelenting pressure stemming from the northern peoples, including the Picts. He testified, the Caledonians and other Picts living beyond the frontier constantly harassed Roman territories. Emperor Constantius deeply understood this persistent danger from the Picts. His presence in Eboracum, now known as York, towards the end of his life was an integral part of a broader strategic design aimed at securing the empire's northern frontiers and effectively countering these relentless challenges. Constantius's military expeditions against the Pictish tribes constituted a key element of his extensive efforts to strengthen order and defense in the western Roman territories. His military endeavors and combat operations aimed at repelling the onslaught of Pictish incursions, comprehensively reinforcing defensive lines, and guaranteeing the inviolability of Roman territories on the British Isle. The historian Eutropius also mentions a tragic moment. Constantius, who had gone to Britain to repel the incursions of the Caledonians, died in Eboracum in the presence of his son Constantine. On July 25, 306 CE, Constantius passed away in Eboracum, now known as York. His passing marked a truly pivotal turn in the annals of the Roman Empire, as the military units immediately elevated his son Constantine to the throne, proclaiming him Augustus. This decisive step ultimately paved the way for Constantine's ascent to supreme power and initiated the Great Constantinian dynasty. Constantius Chlorus is remembered to this day not only for his outstanding military triumphs and his significant role in the tetrarchy system but, of course, for being the father of the future Constantine the Great. It was his reign that laid the solid foundation for his son's subsequent definitive establishment of Christianity as the dominant religion throughout the Roman Empire. Historian Lactantius, a contemporary of these events, offers his perspective on the emperor's character and methods of governance. Constantius was such a kind and gentle prince that none of the other emperors, except his son Constantine, ever compared to him. Constantius's political decisions and practical actions clearly demonstrated his unwavering commitment to ensuring the stability and prosperity of the western provinces. His unique ability to harmoniously combine outstanding military prowess with effective and wise administration earned him deep respect and unwavering loyalty from both the military legions and the civilian population of the empire. Notably, although Constantius himself did not profess Christianity, his policy towards its followers was significantly more lenient compared to the actions of his contemporaries. During the brutal Great Persecution, initiated by Emperor Diocletian in 303 CE, Constantius substantially limited the application of anti-Christian edicts in the territories under his control. While his co-rulers in the tetrarchy system unleashed relentless persecutions, Constantius, in contrast, confined himself merely to destroying church buildings, thereby avoiding the persecution of individual Christians. This relatively tolerant stance allowed Christianity not only to maintain but also to strengthen its position in the western provinces. Furthermore, it set an important precedent that profoundly influenced his son, Constantine, who was destined to play a pivotal, transformative role in the subsequent history of Christianity. Eusebius of Caesarea, a prominent historian and bishop of that era, left an important testimony for posterity, noting that Constantius, unlike many of his contemporary rulers, displayed remarkable mercy towards Christians, consciously refraining from the bloodshed so characteristic of that period. His figure consistently receives very high praise in numerous historical sources, attesting to widespread recognition of his virtues and humanity. In his famous work, On the Deaths of the Persecutors, Lactantius spares no praise for Constantius Chlorus, deliberately contrasting his image with the harsher and more cruel rulers who shaped the empire's destiny during those turbulent years. Lactantius particularly emphasizes Constantius's mild and exceptionally humane character, asserting, among all the emperors, Constantius alone was gentle and merciful, preserving his humanity even in times of adversity and danger. This characterization paints a portrait of a ruler capable of remaining true to his principles even in the face of severe trials. Eutropius, author of Breviarium ab Urbe Condita, Abridgment of Roman History, in his descriptions, focuses on Constantius's outstanding virtues and undeniable competence as a statesman. He describes Constantius as a man possessing outstanding virtues, and unreservedly acknowledges his unique ability to restore much-needed peace and stability to regions that had been engulfed in strife and disorder before his arrival. This testifies to his effectiveness not only as a military commander but also as a wise administrator. Aurelius Victor, in his significant work, De Caesaribus, on the Caesars, creates an image of Constantius as a ruler distinguished by exceptional justice and unwavering integrity. He expresses sincere admiration for Constantius's modesty and his principled reluctance to indulge in the excesses and luxury that so often accompany limitless power. Victor eloquently writes, Constantius was distinguished by his justice, modesty, and preference for a simple life over the luxury of imperial power, emphasizing his rejection of ostentatious grandeur in favor of more commendable qualities. The Latin panegyrics, a valuable collection of ceremonial speeches, are filled with enthusiastic reviews of Constantius's leadership qualities and noble character. These orations, delivered in his honor, praise not only his profound wisdom and fearless courage but also his exceptional ability to bring much-needed stability and prosperity to the provinces under his far-sighted rule, which became a cornerstone of well-being and order in the empire. The historian Zosimus, in his work Historia Nova, New History, also highlights Constantius's positive traits, particularly distinguishing them against the backdrop of other rulers of that tumultuous period. He credits Constantius for his wise and courageous leadership, which, in Zosimus's view, not only strengthened the empire but also paved the way for the future achievements of his great son, Constantine. Zosimus summarizes, Constantius, through his wisdom and courage, left a legacy of stability and strength, preparing the way for his son to achieve greatness, thereby underscoring the continuity and historical significance of his reign. Ancient chronicles and other sources collectively portray Constantius Chlorus as a ruler characterized by exceptional justice, impeccable honesty, and profound humanism. His name is celebrated for his inherent virtues, remarkable gentleness in demeanor, and highly effective governance of state affairs. His notable ability to bring stability and prosperity to the regions under his authority, combined with his innate modesty and clear preference for an unpretentious lifestyle, distinguish him as one of the most outstanding and admirable figures in all of Roman imperial history. It was precisely his noble character and far-sighted actions that served as a solid foundation for the subsequent rise of his great son, Constantine the Great.